Have you ever caught yourself talking out loud when no one else was there? Not shouting, not unraveling, just soft words in an empty room. A half-finished sentence in the mirror, and the second you heard footsteps, you went quiet. Because some part of you had already decided it was a little strange. Here's the truth nobody tells you. That voice didn't show up by accident. It's older than you think. It's the part of you that learned, somewhere very early, to keep things quiet. And today, cognitive psychology is going to show you what it's actually been doing for you all this time. Most people hear talking to yourself and think of loneliness, instability, something a little broken. But that's the part everyone gets backwards. You don't speak to yourself because your mind is falling apart. You speak to yourself because your mind is trying to pull itself together. There's a version of you that only comes out when the room is empty. The one that doesn't perform, doesn't manage its face, doesn't soften the truth for anyone. And honestly, some of the most honest conversations you'll ever have are the ones you have with yourself, in exactly those moments. This goes back further than you'd guess. In the 1930s, a psychologist named Lev Vygotsky watched young children play and noticed they narrate everything out loud. Put this here. It's okay. We're fine. He realized the child wasn't being silly. That out-loud voice was how they learned to steady themselves, by borrowing the voice of the adults around them and turning it inward. And here's the part that matters. That voice never leaves. It just goes underground. It becomes the quiet narrator running in your head all day. So when yours slips back out into the open, you're not malfunctioning. You're returning to the very first tool you ever had for holding yourself together. But not every child got the same voice to borrow. Some people grew up in homes where someone always asked how their day went. And some didn't. Some learned very early that their feelings were a little too much, so they learned to swallow them to keep the peace. Maybe you were the kid who got quiet in the back seat, reading the tone of the front seat before you understood the words. And when there was no voice on the outside saying it's okay, the child built one on the inside. That's not damage. That's a mind refusing to go quiet. The voice became the friend who asked how you were when no one else did. The one who stayed up with you when the house had gone dark. And that voice grew up right alongside you, carrying everything you were never able to hand to anyone else. Fast forward, and you got good at looking fine. You learned the right tone, the right nod, the steady face, even while something turned over inside you. But watch what your voice does in private. It's the argument you keep having in your head long after the conversation actually ended, or the whole speech you rehearse in the car before you walk into a room. Maybe you've had the experience of pacing around a room, talking a problem out loud, and slowly finding the thread you couldn't see when it was all just noise in your head. That's not a quirk. When you say a thought, your brain has to give it a shape, a beginning, an order, an edge. You're not confused when you do this. You're doing the opposite of confused. You're turning fog into something you can actually hold. And then there's what your voice does when you're scared. You've probably felt it in a small, ordinary moment, sitting in a parked car before walking into something hard, muttering, okay, you've got this under your breath. Or on a long walk, running through everything weighing on you, then answering yourself back the way a trusted friend would, until your breathing finally slows and you come home lighter than you left. This one isn't folk wisdom. There's hard evidence behind it. A researcher named Ethan Cross at the University of Michigan ran studies where people talked themselves through stress 2 different ways. Some used why am I so nervous? Others used their own name, okay, you've got this, you've done the work. And under brain scans, that second group showed less activity in the regions tied to emotional spiraling. That tiny shift from I to you creates just enough distance to let you calm your own nervous system down. You quietly taught yourself to hand yourself the reassurance most people spend their whole lives waiting to hear from someone else. But I'd be lying if I only showed you the gentle side of this voice, because the same voice that holds you can turn on you. If you can be your own best friend in that empty room, you can just as easily be your own worst enemy in it. And a lot of people know that version far too well. The voice that was patient a minute ago suddenly gets sharp. Why did you say that? What is wrong with you? You always do this. Here's what's important. And here's where Cross's work goes deeper. The way you talk to yourself isn't cosmetic. It's the difference between a voice that walks beside you and one that stands over you. Researchers have found that people who habitually reflect using that immersed, first-person, self-critical voice tend to stay stuck in negative emotion longer, and language patterns heavy with I, me, my show up more in people struggling with depression. The voice isn't your enemy. It's a protection system running too hard in the wrong direction. And the first step out isn't silencing it, it's just noticing the tone and asking, would I ever say this to someone I loved? And this is the part I really want you to sit with. We were taught to see talking to yourself as proof that you're alone. But look back at everything we just walked through, and it flips completely. The child who built a voice when no one came. The adult who talks themselves down off the ledge. The one who paces the room until the fog clears. That person isn't the one who got left alone. That person is the one who never left themselves. When the world got too sharp to touch, you didn't go numb and you didn't run. You stayed in the room with your own mind and kept the conversation going. Every whispered it's okay, every argument replayed at midnight, every quiet I'm trying muttered into a dark ceiling when the rest of the world had already gone to sleep. That was one person refusing to abandon you. And it was you. That's not a symptom of loneliness. It's the quietest proof of loyalty you'll ever find. So if you take anything from this, take 3 things. That voice isn't proof something's wrong with you, it's proof you're still here, still showing up for your own mind instead of leaving it on mute. The tone is what to watch, not the habit. You're allowed to talk to yourself all day. Just notice whether you're speaking like a friend or like a judge. Because over time, your mind starts to believe whoever's talking. And this voice was never meant to replace other people. It was meant to bring you back to yourself, steady enough to reach them. The goal was never to need no one. It was to stop being a stranger to yourself. So the next time you catch yourself whispering into an empty room, don't shrink and don't call yourself strange. You're not talking to yourself. You're returning to yourself. And there's nothing crazy about that. It's one of the most human things you'll ever do. I'd love to know. Do you talk to yourself most when you're solving something, when you're stressed, or when you just need to feel steady again? Tell me the one that sounded most like you. And if this made that quiet habit feel less like something to hide and more like something to understand, subscribe and stay with Cognitive Psychology. This is where we decode the private things your mind does that no one ever explains. And if someone you love does this too, send it their way. Some voices just need to hear they were never something to be ashamed of. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next time.